this world as a legacy that you leave behind for the future generations, because those future generations are also people who belong to you. It could be your sons and your daughters. So today we're not going to save the environment and save all your natural resources. Ask you, what did my father or my mother do? They didn't bother that we won't have water today to drink. The time is coming when you will be charged a big amount for water, will be probably as expensive as a diamond. How many of you know of Adam Smith? He had said long ago, the father of modern economics, that we place so much value on a diamond which we can do nothing with. But water, which is the very essential of life, we're losing that soon. Simple quote by Mother Teresa, do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person. That's what I leave behind with you today, as I would exit very soon from the stage. Yeah? And that's the other great leader, Ikeda. A person who cannot genuinely empathize with others can never excel as leader. So much of what ails society today is a result of too many people in leadership positions who do not or cannot identify with the plight of their fellow men and women, all our people in parliament. It is an enduring pain and struggles that the earth of our humanity is cultivated. And it is from the earth that a capacity to be genuinely concerned for the welfare of other blossoms. It's a natural process. It should be inherent. That's what humanity is all about, but we've lost that. And now I'll give some live examples. I told you about Satish Shetty. I'll tell you what youngsters are doing. There's a young chap called Dr. Gaurav Chhabra who has mobilized not a large number, on 25 youth, and he started a process. You know, UNESCO is a UN body, and along with the Ministry of Culture or whatever, they only, Robin Hood and his thieves, if I may call them, yeah, have started this process of saying that we'll take over the smaller monuments and restore them by ourselves. Now that's called citizen empathy. Let's do something. Not giving money. Let's do something. Let's be the change that we want to see in the world. The same group on the 3rd of January, the first Sunday in 2010. If you're familiar with the city of Chandigarh, it was designed by an architect called Corbusier. And it's a very planned city. My wife belongs to that place. So I happened to be there. And the tall guy that you see standing with the T over here, you know, that's me. Yeah, it's part of the movement, because we work a lot with the youngsters, creating a movement now called Just Right Every Wrong. Do anything you want in your own space and post it. Yeah, so that you can create more inspiring stories. So the open hand was built by Corbusier years ago with a thing called the Contemplation Pit. And we've got the video out after filing a RTI case. Okay. The video basically said that this Contemplation Pit is for the people of Chandigarh to come in and assemble and call the person in government to come there so that they can address her or him and tell them that this is going wrong in my city. So please uphold democratic values. Now this pit has been closed to the public. People in government don't want to come because they all feel we are powerful, we are people in power. No, you are civil servants. You are servants to the public, not people who rule them. They should never forget that. And that's what we have been trying to do, open the Contemplation Pit as a symbol of reclaiming democracy. Thank you, Mr. Rawkani, Mr. Uttam Ganguly, and Mr. Khalsa, and everybody in this room. Thank you very much for giving me a piece.
Speech by Mr. Amendo, and I think it has already moved all the youngsters' ears. But I am again driving you towards our concern of the business schools. We have to look for our icons in this sector. And to me, youth is like a spark. If you move it to a dry heap of hay, probably it will burn everything in a minute. But if you channelize that energy into productive uses, probably you can work wonders. Similarly, we are talking about a lot of advantages, demographic advantages, which we have. Probably by 2020, our workforce will be something like 60% of the population. And we are banking upon it, that this population will improve our GDP in a very quantum jump. This is true. But at the same time, what our youth are doing at present is a point of worry. It has also a disadvantaged group. Look at the suicide rate. Look at the popularity of smoking and alcohol consumption. These things are leading us to cancer. 90% of the cancer patients are smokers. Are we are we giving the right direction to this young group? What about our junk food and obesity? Obesity is again leading to cancer. Okay. Look at the suicide rate. It's galloping, and especially among the young children. Okay. School children, who are supposed to be our productive workforce people in near future. Look at the kind of accidents. 10.6% of the youth from the age of 14 to 24 are dying out of accidents. You know, automobiles, it kills you by speed, kills you as well. Are we controlling that? We are banking upon simply the number, the statistics, which is going to help us to improve our GDP. But then we have got to give the direction. Probably some of the B schools have produced greedy graduates, and they are in limelight, like Enron case, skilling from Harvard. Another gentleman who is topper from Harvard is also involved in scam. Andrews was from Kellogg School. He was financial advisor for Enron. All these cases point to us that what the schools are producing. Are these greedy people to destroy the society? Now it comes back to us. Okay, we must provide direction, and Deepak Jain in Kellogg is doing that in his own small way. He is teaching business ethics to B schools and CEOs among the United States. Look at another Jain from Bhopal, Sandeep Jain, who is with Barton School. He is visiting professor of ISB Hyderabad. These are the youth icons we have before us from the B schools. Similarly, one of the team from Harvard came to India to find out the adaptive leadership style which survived during the recession. And they came with their team of associate, Professor Gravin. He was here in India in November and visiting various places, including Mindtree and Genstar consultancies. Then he has visited a number of places and contacted personalities like K.V. Kamath of ICICI Group, Vinita Bali of Britannia, then Mr. Gopal Krishnan of Infosys. All these personalities are to be taught as a case study in Harvard. These are the adaptive leaders of India, which the whole world is looking forward to build up their own base, or to find out these leaders from India to nurture their own organization. So these are some of the icons which we should follow in our B schools. Another young icon, he is now 70, is Ram Charan. The lousy guy was working in his own family shoe shop in Aligarh. He graduated from Banaras Hindu University, and then he went to Harvard, did his PhD there, became a professor, a rare opportunity for Indians in United States in those days. Now he is a freelance consultant, and he has been awarded Global Indian Award by Economic Times this year. His lifestyle, most of the time he sleeps on the aircraft or in the airport lounges or in hotels. He is always on the tour. He travels some 5 lakh miles a year and consultant to top companies like General Electric and other big companies. So these are kind of Indian idols, and I think I must sum up these things because he has taken a lot of time and you must be waiting for your lunch. So let me quote from APJ Abdul Kalam, our past president, what kind of leaders he wants to be, want Indians to be in the globalized world. And he says that our leaders should not be commander but coach. They should not be director but delegators. And they should not be manager but mentors. I think there's enough and enough guidance for you youngsters here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.